Hello, everyone.
Insert knob joke here.
Hello, and you're listening to Let's Drone Out. Tonight, you're joined by Stephen,
Hello.
everyone's favourite curry kitten.
Hello. Got too hot. Taking this off. Carry on.
Oh, ladies, and a dab.
Oh,
The
Frank,
dad bod.
give us a dab.
No. Good evening.
All right.
My hands are staying firmly in my hoodie pockets where they won't
well, we can't see them. They could be anywhere.
go cold. Because
He's
it's
playing with
cold
himself.
here. Yeah, clearly.
And before anyone else quits from verbal abuse, here's Jack.
I'm sorry, Andy RC. I've said sorry loads of times. I don't know what else I can do.
It'd be interesting to get a definition of verbal abuse versus the normal verbal diarrhea, which is what the
Yeah.
show is.
Speaking
touch-
of
and me
quads
touching
and
you.
Andy RC, an impromptu segue into quadcopters, I noticed recently that Runcam released a new camera, and it appeared to bear a striking resemblance, not to the Mippy that I've got, which misses the back and the cable falls off unless you put a bit of tape on it, but to the new and shiny Runcam. I can't see where I've written it, but it's something new. The Runcam Link. Runcam are now officially selling a Vista unit with their own camera, calling it the Link, and it's got a little plastic plate on the back, like Andy's one. So I believe Andy may have been the first to maybe not realise it, but review the new Runcam product.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't noticed that when I assumed you were going to talk about the Peanut,
Mm.
which is the other new camera
The
around.
Cadex Peanut, yeah.
Which
is the-
I've mentioned but haven't watched any reviews on, because I just assumed it was like the 360 Go version 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the 360 Go version 2, but with a charging bit so that you can basically wire it into your quad and it can be charged up as it goes as well. And it's got a longer recording time, so it can do half an hour rather than whenever the default is, like 5 minutes or something.
And they've sneakily made it so the little magnetic clip on the back doesn't go on your existing Cadex Go cameras, because the moulding's slightly different. The sneaky so-and-sos. So you can't just buy the magnetic clip on, put it on your existing camera, because it'll slide off. Boo.
So
I
there's
suppose
just
you
some
could
tips
like
off
Dremel
DJI
out
and
a notch. Yeah.
just gaffer tape it on it, be fine.
Right, curry.
Hello.
It should have texted you a code, and if you put it in the private chat, I can verify it. I just want to see if it works. Or failing that, I've accidentally messaged Frank.
Speaking of camera brands, so that's Runcam and Cadex. The other one, Foxeer, have also debuted a camera called the Apollo, which apparently is going to appear. They've done we'll release it on Facebook, but not put up a product page thingamajig. And they just sort of popped out a post a day or so ago on that. It's kind of irritating the way people do that. Release stuff on Facebook and not actually explain what it is. But that's today's world.
That's what they don't pay reviewers for, along with all the manuals and support generally.
Product documentation that doesn't exist. It's just a JPEG on a Facebook group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what they need to do.
Luxury. Back in my day, we used to live in street, eat cold gravel.
It was just ASCII art if you were lucky. An ASCII art with misaligned stuff halfway through the art.
Had to have exactly the right number of pixels.
Exactly.
So I guess because I've started on this impromptu hardware waffle, I'll continue on the impromptu hardware waffle. There's some new SharkBite stuff. SharkBite is hitting 1 watt at last, so people can use it for things other than racing. And they're supposed to be doing a slightly smaller 20mm VTX, because they had this 20mm one that was a joke. Like, it's 20mm, but it sticks out 2 centimeters behind the board, so you can't fit it in any stacks. So they're releasing one that's smaller. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Camera controls.
Are they any good yet? Because, admittedly, I used the one before it was the sort of pre-release one, and it felt like you needed 1 watt just to get like what other
You get a lot of
VTXs would
sparkles
make in
behind
200
trees.
milliwatts.
Yeah. I see a lot of sparkles and quite distracting sparkles because they're like full brightness.
They're proper squares, aren't they, rather than little sparkles?
You can see exactly how their encoding works when it breaks up, because they're not just dots, but they're small tiles. It's like a corrupt JPEG with little corrupt tiles out of it.
Yeah, it
I
seems
think
to me
it's
like
good
you could do better there, because it's like, okay, well that tile is this colour, that tile is this colour, that tile is this colour. We can just interpolate the other information and get it a little bit better
Yeah,
than they're doing
I think
at the moment.
they're not going frame by frame though. They're literally going line by line, which is why they're a bit dumb. But yeah, I agree. It would be nice if they just made a tile sort of the same colour as the ones around it instead of bright white.
Well, looking at the poll at the moment, I mean, we've got a poll going on in the YouTube chat at the moment of which HD FPV system would people either own or be most likely to go for. The current leader at 43% is analog forever. In second place is Sharkbite, and then joint third are DJI and OpenHD. That's like the exact opposite of what I would have expected from that poll. So that's interesting.
Well, I think the cost is definitely a big problem. I wonder how many people did pick up a Sharkbite El Cheapo system when they went to that half-price deal and instantly sold out, because there were a few of them in the UK. Be interesting to hear if anyone's picked one up and if they have any success with it.
Yeah, because like that was quite a reasonable price, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like 80 quid for the module. It's cheaper than a good analog module, cheaper than your Fusion or rapid fire modules.
But like, weren't you saying something about like the technology's limited and you know that's all they can kind of do with it? Or do you reckon they'll come out with something else?
I think these Divimath guys, they want to make a show of it, and the guy behind it made a pretty impassioned speech about like, I've been an electrical engineer all my life. I just want to do something that moves the industry along instead of using like late 80s CCTV camera technology to do FPV. So I think he wants to leave some legacy behind. Obviously, starting making a chip is a pretty big endeavor, and they seem to have done it using a really inefficient process that takes a lot of power, and the chip itself is physically huge. So I think it'll get better if people get on board and they start to make it smaller and not take as much energy, you know, not run as hot. Could be pretty great.
How hot's hot? Like, you talking active cooling or heatsink or?
Well, there were reports of lots of them failing early on, weren't there? And then they kind of scaled back to this 200 milliwatt version. So I think that there's some heat issues they've got to sort out there. Because clearly the encoder plus the power amplifier is taking a fair bit of power draw.
Have any of you guys been flying lately?
Me?
Yeah.
I actually flew yesterday for the first time in forever.
Well done.
What?
Congratulations.
I was very impressed with myself. Thank you. It wasn't a very long flight. It was to test out one of the little Happy Model PP receivers, which are the teeny tiny ones with a ceramic antenna. So I shoved it inside an old toothpick that I didn't like anymore, because that used to have an SPI receiver, and if I got more than about 10 meters behind myself, the RSI would drop below 20. And I thought this would be a good test to see if ELRS shoved inside it without any antenna, or albeit a ceramic one, could do better. The answer was it could, and I ran out of my usual spot where, if anybody's seen my videos, there's this sort of thin area between trees that I can go up and down. It's a corridor. So I went to the end, and it was still at 6100 on the LQ. So I went to the other end behind me, and it didn't move either. So then I tried flying out over the trees as far as I could, forgetting slightly that when you're in a big corridor full of big trees and you go that way, and then the wind blows you over, that can be problematic for the VTX point of view. And it's very snowy all of a sudden, and when I turn around, it's like, oh, that corridor's over there. But I managed to get far before then I noticed it was at like 10 volts. And
what power are you running?
3S.
Your radio? Your radio?
Oh, my radio, 100 milliwatts.
All right, he'll go for days on 100 milliwatt. Yeah.
Yeah, I was using the Namimno module, so I could have put it up to a watt if I wanted to. So,
You've been
but I
practicing
didn't have.
saying that, haven't you, Carrie?
I didn't have any battery. I cocked it up twice on my video, I did. But I would have run out of battery. So, yeah, I managed to get it back. I can. My video basically says it's magic. It's a little magic receiver. You put it in something small, and you will never have to worry about range, ever. Because I think we were at this situation where VTXs have got really good, and it was going the wrong way. Basically, we were able to outfly our video. No, our video was able to outfly our control mechanism, which was just useless because you're like, I'm going really well. Plum, falls out the sky. Now, at least, we can outfly the video again. So you're going along. It should be the case of, video's getting a little bit snowy. If you're on good old analog, I'll turn around and come back, and you've got all the power in the world to do that on your radio, which is the right way around. But yeah, I was really, really impressed. I'm looking forward to testing out my my other new quad that I built with a proper antenna on an ELRS receiver, because that should go plenty of room.
I was actually flying on 100 milliwatt for a while in the park and having really bad range, and then I realised that because I was using one of these X-Lite antennas, it has an RPSMA. It doesn't have a pin in it, so I didn't actually have the antenna connected, and I was still flying just fine.
Does that screw up your transmitter a bit if that load
it wasn't
is going
happy.
nowhere?
Luckily, I didn't crank up the power to try and solve the problem, so I think the power amplifier stayed in the world of the living. That was good.
Oh dear.
Right, yeah.
Have you got the adapter for that?
Adapter? I just dropped a pin in it and soldered a pin in the middle.
Well, I have to say that's the X-Lite antenna, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cute. You don't need much more than that. I put that on the T-Lite. It's all right.
When I tested that against the regular antenna, I honestly didn't see a difference. I thought, this
I
is
just got it
good.
because it was small and it'd get out of the way.
Yeah. But no, it's smaller, so that's good. It doesn't poke out as much.
Yeah. I wanted something that fitted into the bag without snapping off, so that guy fits it. But yeah, it comes without the one without a pin. I think it's RPSMA that they put the pin on the threaded connection on the radio instead of on there. And yeah,
that's a legal thing, I think.
Yeah,
that's like if a CE thing, everything should be RPSMA.
Why FR Sky do this and no one else in the industry does? It just blows my mind a little bit.
No, like Ghost had to as well.
Really? Oh,
yeah, to get their CE mark.
There's a comment in the chat I've just seen saying, got a Tango 2 this week, and within an hour of it arriving, I'd already opened it up and installed an ELRS module, lol.
That's fail-safe, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, yes, I was going to say, that's great and everything, but coming from someone whose name is fail-safe FPV, I'm not sure that's got quite the impact that you were hoping for.
He's the guy who made my module with the survivable power amplifier, so he knows what he's doing.
It's another thing I liked about Express LRS. I was using the TBS Mambo with a Namimno module and a Happy Model receiver. Everything plays nice together. I was quite happy about that. Happy Model made me happy.
Speaking of which, with another natural segue, we've all been complaining, ALRS is good for everything, except planes. What about the planes? Won't someone remember the fixed wing guys with their need for 8 full-range PWM channels? And
yes, please.
Blah, blah, blah. Well, Maytech have released their own range of receivers, so it's not by some off-brand, like Banggood brand. A lot of stuff has appeared on Banggood. If you look for Express LRS on Banggood, you'll see JEH, MCU, HGLRC. Everyone has started to produce versions of those little Happy Model receivers or something that's like the Beta FPV. They follow some distinct types because they're all basically using the same blueprints. But now the real big guns have got in on the action, and we've seen Maytech come out with a couple of modules that are supposed to be arriving mid-October. And they're doing one that looks like the Beta FPV with a UFL, and one that includes an antenna switcher with 2 antennas for diversity. And along with that, they're releasing a board that does CRSF to PWM. Well, 2 boards that do that, one small one and one big one with a current meter on it. And they both take VBAT, so you can get your VBAT telemetry back. So they speak CRSF, which is the on-the-wire protocol that all these ELRS modules use. You slap your ELRS module onto this PWM adapter, get your PWM channels out, and it'll send back your battery voltage and your current usage.
Cool. Do we know price points yet. Because I'm still thinking like you can get a tracer receiver, 6 PWM channels for like less than 30 quid.
It's true. It's true. I'm not sure what the pricing's going to be. So far on Banggood, all of the receivers are coming in about the 15 quid mark, which is strange. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I used to shop on Banggood all the time because you just couldn't beat their pricings. But now I'm seeing UK resellers beating Banggood. And obviously, you may be paying a couple of quid for shipping to get it via Royal Mail, but you're getting it a lot quicker, and you don't have to deal with Banggood and their dubious customer service.
Or importing at the moment. Like who wants to risk like getting something imported and it might take 6 weeks and you might get a stupid amount of money charged for holding something up if there's some bit of paperwork not right. Like, no, not doing that at the moment. I'm giving that another year before I order direct from China.
Yeah, I do it ordering bulk on Ali, but that's about it.
I know this is a bit non sequitur, but excuse me for a minute. The L key on my keyboard's broken off, and for weeks I have been without an L key, and I need to buy an L key. I'm sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
How is it
buy
that
sets of
an L
keycaps,
key
Jack.
randomly breaks off? What have you done?
And where does it go if not on your desk? Did you eat it?
No,
It's because of how much he's just like spacefaring, LDO, and LAC.
Look, the cap is broken. My G and H keys are melted. If you get some weird text from me in the chat, it's me removing that.
It's not
key.
normal for your keys to melt under normal use. I have to say
Well,
that.
it's all
Jack,
the
you're not
side
meant to
panels.
use your keyboard
Look.
as your soldering iron stand. We've gone over
I am a
this.
heavy typist, and I've sprung off my shift and control keys from slamming them, but I've not actually managed to snap the key in half like Jack did. That's an
I've done-
Is it
impressive
some
I've
show
sort
done
of
for us.
weird
you.
gamer rage quit video where he picks up the keyboard? Mum!
No,
Wow.
just
So, suggestions
It's
in the
second-
chat, please. If you know a good set of keycaps
no,
for the stronger
I've got
typist.
them.
Or you could just
Yeah,
buy a new
maybe.
keyboard from Amazon for like £3.
No, I like this one.
Although
Well,
be
no,
warned,
it's no
last
good,
time
it's
I ordered
defective.
a new keyboard from Amazon, it was an Italian one, lots of Italian accents on things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right, so
An update on the poll in the chat. DJI is coming up. It's coming up and level with SharkBite. OpenHD is now
The
trailing.
DJI fanboys have arrived.
Hmm.
The rich people.
But analog is still way ahead.
I just like these polls because I would totally have clicked analog and DJI because there's no way I'm going to piss around and put DJI on something that's like a 3-inch quad. It's too heavy, and decasing it is just going to smash it to pieces. I think there's room for more than one.
What did everybody else fly? What did Stephen and Frank fly?
I mean,
DJI.
I don't know.
Sorry.
We went out flying. Curry told us about him going out flying,
Yes.
and we haven't said what we went out flying.
So I went to the park over lunch to de-stress and just found a little spot under some trees and flew my silly little toothpicks, little micros, nothing impressive. Just a little bit of light acro, messing around. Sorry. Frank.
I went out and because I think this was before the last before the last show, but I wasn't on the last show. So I went out and flew my thrust vectored wing, which was terrifying.
Have you got video this time?
No, I don't take cameras.
We did
with
see a
me.
video of your trembling hands, didn't we?
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
You could
nerve-wracking.
just like tape a phone to your head and look at it that way. That would work. Anything.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
He's standing there with a thrust vectored wing, attracting attention. The last thing he needs to do is be the guy who's gaffer taped the phone to his head. He's gonna get questions anyway.
It completes the look. mad scientist.
Yeah, it's quite fast, and yeah, I mean it was stable enough. I could keep it going in the same direction for a while, but it's unsurprisingly very sensitive.
Are you using Betaflight or something to do this and treat it like a quad?
It's in Arduplane. Well,
Ooh,
sort of.
ambitious.
It's a tail sitter in Ardupilot.
All the good experimental stuff's in Ardupilot, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is the thing, is I couldn't work out a way in either Betaflight or iNav to have it stabilize itself as a wing and stabilize itself as a bicopter. Whereas there is a specific tail sitter VTOL quad plane, I think is the name in Ardupilot, that can specifically do that. So I'm like, I'll have a go at that. Yep.
Because in Ardupilot, there's going to be things like flying dodecahedrons and God knows what.
Yeah. Turns out Ardupilot is quite tricky. I haven't really got my head around it still, but I've got it
Autopilot's
fine.
fine as long as you can get past the compass thing, which I never seem to manage. All I do is look at the screen. 100% of the time it's telling me that the compass health is not good, and it's at a HDUP of 1.1 and needs to be 1.0 constantly, no matter what I do. I've had 5 minutes of flying correctly with Ardupilot, and the rest of it like being just it yelling at me about stuff.
Is Ardupilot the one where you need things on very specific ports and you can't configure them to other ports?
It kind of depends on what hardware you've got. But it's kind of fussy about certain things, certainly.
It is,
and if you want to change something, Frank, this is why Frank loves it. It's like calling up a spreadsheet. It's like, what do I want to do? I want this function, and it comes down with a load of things, columns, stuff, things to annotate, and yeah, it's like
I
using
want to
Excel,
link this to the cosine of my RC rate, and off you go.
Well, it's not that straightforward. It's not like you can just arbitrarily put in functions. It's not that
like
simple.
You know what any of the functions do. That would be easy.
They're named after the developers who wrote them and nothing else.
Yeah, it's
Dave's Magic 7.
Yeah, it takes a lot of reference material to work out what's going on. And I still haven't been able to get to the point where I'm confident that the failsafe will do what I expect it to do, because the sort of the basic understanding seems to be that the failsafe should that it's an autonomous vehicle that you occasionally have radio control of. It's not expecting you to be like kill the plane when you don't have radio control. So it trying to tell it like if I turn my radio off, turn the motor off, please. It doesn't like that. It doesn't seem to. It's not just like
no. I will ascend to a safe altitude and wait for further commands.
Exactly.
One of the funniest memories I have from our meets is my friend was using Ardupilot in his Skywalker. If you remember from the Halloween episode, this is the same person that expected it to go into failsafe, and instead it just I'll go into Horizon mode or whatever it was, and it went off and almost hit that very high voltage electricity pylon. So the funniest thing he had, because he was really keen on trying stuff out, and it had this auto launch feature, and there wasn't much documentation about it other than you put it in auto launch and you move the plane and it would start going. But him moving the plane involved him running about half the distance, like 200 meters down the field, and then, the motors have started. I'm going to throw it. It's like you're all the way over there. And it was equally as funny on the auto landing, where I think the software actually fought with itself, because it's coming down to land, it's coming down to land, it's coming down to land. Is it going to? And suddenly it starts going upwards again, and it's like, as far as we could figure, it was like it was landing, but the software also then thought it was stalling and tried to come out of the stall, but also try and land at the same time. And it's just, it was not happy at all.
Yeah, and then it's got a whole
like
simulator, like you can like, not as in that you're flying it simulator, but that as you can ask it to simulate what it would do in particular situations. But that is, again, like that's a whole other level of things to try and learn. It's I might just give up and be like, I can just fly Acro. It's fine.
You could just put Betaflight on it and pretend it's a quad, and just run it full throttle, and the wing's a bonus.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's so that was quite fun. And then while I was trying to get the shakes under control after flying that, I took out the head tracking pan. Well, it's not head tracking at the moment, but pan powered glider that I bought from Chris G.
Pan powered glider. You mean
No,
like
I mean
You have to go like
on the
that.
thing.
That makes it go.
yeah. So a
That's
powered
your-
glider with a FPV panning, like not a pan
Right,
tilt,
okay.
but just a pan.
Has anyone ever done that? A head tracker to actually like yaw and pitch?
Yeah. That's fairly standard in the FPV, the scale FPV people. That's what they do quite often.
What look like
Looks to control the
controls
plane.
by?
Oh, to actually control the yaw.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, yaw and pitch on the head trackers.
Hmm.
Can you
We
imagine?
did have an
that, though?
idea, me and this same friend again, who always came up with interesting ideas. If we both had head trackers connected to the same radio, one of us would do pitch and roll, and the other one would do throttle and yaw. But we couldn't figure out how to connect two head trackers into one control, into sort of mucks it through. Else we couldn't do it. We thought that would be hilarious. It would be a short but entertaining video, of us basically going like this, trying to control the plane.
Yeah.
Two elderly men dancing what appears to be a strange form of the Macarena in the middle of the field.
Someone please take the image of Curry and make a GIF of him dancing.
That's not even proper dad dancing. It can be much more embarrassing than that.
Andy did that. What, Andy RC? Which Andy? Oh, I think someone accepted my offer for an L key on eBay.
Oh,
No,
I decided
counter
to get experimental as well, and I loaded up that Alka Motors AM32, the alternative firmware for BL Heli 32 ESCs, because I bought a crawler and then obviously decided that nothing about it was right, and proceeded to dismantle it and kind of add extra bits into it. So it's waiting for a new motor right now, and I got an iFlight Success ESC in here to replace its properly janky ESC, because I get really annoyed when looking at cars and they all say, oh, this ESC is good to 3S, and it'll do like 60 amps but only 3S. So I wanted something that I could run sensible lipos on. Yeah, it's pretty interesting actually, pretty interesting. He's added all sorts of crazy stuff to the firmware for vehicles, so you can use your BL Heli 32 ESC to do crawlers and RC cars, and it's got, you know, the two touch reverse. So you do one for brake and then second pull back on the throttle to go into reverse. And he's got sinusoidal startup, so like smooth startup, and then moves out of sinusoidal mode when it reaches a certain speed. And you can override the stall thing. So you can choose to either work like a quad where you don't burn your motors out, and if something hits the prop, it just stops the motor. Or you can have a kind of a crawler approach, which does the opposite, and you can have behavior so that when something is pushing back against the motor, it slowly actually increases the drive power until the motor starts turning again. So lots of neat stuff there.
Thank you, Win.
Win.
Read it out, Frank.
Oh, Bernie Bun.
Win says, Beast Flight Rescue does my head in. Yes, it rescues, but it will land, come down where it likes, normally nowhere near you. Nice seeing you all at Western Park.
Oh,
Don't
thanks,
forget,
Win.
the
It's
idea of
neat,
Beta
right?
Flight Rescue is not to have it come back and land brackets crash at you. It's just
Yeah.
when it comes back into signal, take it out of rescue and land it.
Beta
because
Flight Rescue is put
it's
my
a
quad
missile.
near me and nothing more than that. It's like, I want my quad near me as opposed to where I currently lost the signal.
It's more frightening than that, because it's essentially, I'm going to crash right at you. It's
Yeah.
like, take it out before it gets you, normally. Else
Oh, and if
didn't
you
do
engage
that
it
for him.
under the distance limit, it will fail safe as well. That's the thing people really need to remember about Beta Flight Rescue. It's not rescue until you're more than 100 meters away by default. If you're less than 100 meters away
200
from
by
yourself, it doesn't believe that it knows where you are, and it's just going to fail safe when you hit GPS rescue. So, yeah, testing is a good idea with that one. Fun
Well,
times.
We need to do a bonus pod. Maybe we could chat to Win about that in the bonus.
Yeah. If he's got video as well.
Yeah, man. We'll discuss it and chat about it if he's up for chatting to us. I did try and hey, GFBV, hello. I did try and message Tony for the bonus, but he's busy at the moment. But he said he'll come back on for a bonus. Said he's up for some bonus pods. So Tony is about.
Curry, have you experimented with your crawler any time recently? Speaking of crawlers and things.
No, I mean, I replaced the camera on it not long ago, so it was a bit better. And I've sort of messed with it indoors. I keep meaning to. I wrote this little thing to do basically driving over the net where we're sending little amounts of packets so people could like do stuff. And I keep wanting to get that plugged in, but I can't make that run on any of the multi-protocol modules. So one of my things to do is to take a multi-protocol module and put it in debug mode and try and work out what the bind sequence is to see if I can get it added to the list of things it will work on if I explain the sort of data I'm getting. I've literally found the only radio receiver that doesn't seem to work on any of the multi-protocol module protocols, which is really weird.
Wow.
Even though it's listed as one of the ones that should.
What is it?
It is. Where is it? It's not around here. It's this thing Hobby King had called the Rockstar Basher. It's a little 1/24th crawler, and it uses what is it, AF2S something. It's one of the FlySky, allegedly one of the FlySky protocols it should use, but doesn't seem to work.
Non-conformant.
Can't get it to bind at all.
You just put a quad. Put a quad in there. A quad RX.
Yeah, I would do, but it's got a single board in there which has the ESCs and the receiver and everything else all built in. So it's not something you can just simply. It'd be nice and easy if you just swap out the receiver easily, but there's some extra hardware in there which makes it a bit of a pain.
5-wire servos and stuff that they put in there, almost as if they want to stop you from doing anything interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
do have a spare car
usually
ESC.
the case of it. The fact that they've just they've built it to a price and a scale, and it's convenient, but it's when you want to do things differently, it just all breaks.
Yeah, the number of people on car forums, they're like, oh, so I wanted to upgrade my motor, and then I needed to upgrade my ESC, but the ESC is built into the receiver, so I had to get a new receiver, and the servo is a 5-wire one, and so I had to change that to a 3-wire one. So I wanted to change one component, and I had to rip out the entire guts of this, everything down to the rolling chassis, and just replace everything. Seems to be
just
pretty
start
common.
again.
Yeah.
The poll in the chat, more people have been going for the DJI. It's way overtaken Shark Bite now, and it's catching up with analog.
Oh no. I'll tell you what else I found when I was flying yesterday. I've forgotten how bad a bad camera is. Now it's the sun is slightly lower in the sky now. During the height of summer, it was like up high and everything's good. As soon as you got, and I was using like a little horrible toothpick review from 2019, which had a Caddx EOS 2 in it, which is fine unless you're heading towards the sun through the trees. Basically, I got like this sort of tiny view, and everything else was black. That was bad. I'm so glad about better cameras now.
Wasn't that the generation of Caddx cameras that managed to make the grass slightly purple?
Yes, it did have a very. Was it purpley? It was certainly an orangey purpley tinge to it.
Like
and
purple
that EOS 2
speckles.
was on like every single
Yeah.
simple bind and fly quad that was coming out of China at that time, because it was quite small, and it wasn't bad under good conditions. But like literally every toothpick, every whoop that was coming out was like, oh yeah, that's got. Oh look, it's a Caddx EOS 2 again. I must have like 20 of them in various models and stuff kicking around.
Yeah, they're pretty bad cameras. It was really nice when Caddx moved to the Ratel, because it's just not in the same league at all. Totally different class of camera.
So good.
Yeah. Took them a while to get there, though. Sorry.
Tell you what else happened recently. Lurgy finished his record-breaking flight from LDO now of 5 weeks from launch till landing. Admittedly, vast majority of that was in a tree, but it is in pretty good nick. It's
Looks
all
like a
there.
wing.
Yeah, it's still wing shaped. All it's had some damage on a servo. It's collected some bird poo, and it's lost. Well, a winglet has come loose, but apart from that, it's pretty good. It's in pretty
So
good nick,
did you
though.
just have to wait for the weather to encourage it out of the tree, or did someone?
Yeah,
do
so
something?
the goat herders, I said that they found it, and I would probably know what to do with it, and they were right.
As it landed.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some damage to a servo. That's pretty good for 5 weeks stuck up a tree.
No wing left behind.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more like it.
Yeah, what board's in it? Is there a board? Is that the receiver?
I think he got the battery, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
the
got
battery carried on a ballistic trajectory and could be recovered. F411 Maytech wing is the
Have you
board.
put a lipo on there to see if it lit up or caught fire?
I have not dared to. I'm leaving that to Lurgy.
Maybe let it dry for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I've picked up a new product that I haven't got anything to test
Hair
it
gel?
out with. No. But, and it is here.
I will get a
So-
new product as well while you're doing that.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by these. Allendale Ultrasonics.co.uk. I was really, really impressed with their ultrasonic flux remover. So I picked up some oxidation and oxidation removal ultrasonic solution for removing oxidations in metals, including iron, copper, aluminium, and stainless steel.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Ooh.
we can try some of that out.
What
He's using that
What
in
is
the
in
bath.
it? Just out of interest, is it just acid? Or what's in it?
I
So
don't
what's
know.
the
It's
horrible-
irritate the skin,
Toxic
keep out of
materials.
children's reach.
You're holding it.
Yeah, this is our specially formulated concentrated solution for removing oxides from mechanical and machine parts.
Orange
Safely
flavoured.
removes oxidation and rust from metals. Concentrate is added to water at a rate of 1 part concentrate to 10 parts water. We recommend using deionized
Water.
and dematerialized water.
Dematerialized water
At
sounds
an
like fun.
operating temperature between 40 and 80 C.
Does it
Always
say what's in
degas the solution prior to ultrasonic cleaning and change regularly to avoid cross contamination. So
So we don't
it's
know what's in it.
apparently very corrosive. But
Oh, clicked the wrong one.
hopefully we can
Put it
bring
on
some
chips.
boards back from the.
That's supposed to say don't store near fireworks, and I entirely agree. It's probably not safe to have in.
demineralized. Yeah, that's right.
Probably not
Sorry,
safe.
Matt.
I like
Same room.
dematerialized better. It's like, I've
Yeah.
got it. Oh, it's gone.
Demineralized. Yeah, sorry.
Well, my exciting product is in this box, and I will warn you
Ooh.
to shield your eyes because the colour shocked me a little bit when I first got it out. It
Ooh,
was-
my
Oh
colourful.
my god! Wow.
It looks
is
like
colourful,
Parma
isn't it?
violets.
This is kind of interesting because lots of people kept buying those Cine Whoops, and I was like, there's only about 5 or 10 people around the country that must need this, because unless you're filming professionally with a GoPro in places you can't use like a regular quad, you don't need a Cine Whoop. And people kept buying them, and I think they were doing it because they were thinking, oh, it'd be good if I crash it because it bounce off stuff. So this is actually built for those people. The idea of this, it's like a Cine Whoop, but it is been produced for basically going faster, and they say racing and light freestyle, and these are purely for protection against it hitting stuff and hurting itself. It's got those 5-bladed props, which are supposed to be quieter. It's got a Cadex Ratel 2 on it, yay, and an F7 flight controller. And it's called.
And it's a pusher.
I forgot what it's called. Underneath it,
Nice.
which is different. So that'll be fun
Do
to.
you get any hassle
check out.
taking off if you're taking off from grass and leaves and stuff? Do they get a bit jammed or?
I don't know yet. It only came in the post. Was it today? I think it was today or yesterday.
What do you mean by pusher?
So
Well,
the motors go down
The
instead of
motors
up from the arms.
downwards. So we're pushing down there instead of the normal pulling up. Or I'll just fly upside down all the time, I guess. Either way
Super
works.
high angle.
But they've done something very
150
good as well.
degrees.
This is not an advertising part for HTLC, but they've done some obvious things. If you've ever had a Cinewhoop, you will know that getting to the flight controller involves a very pathetic 90-degree right-angled USB connector in which you had to use a baby's hand to get it in, and they're tiny bendy metal bits which break off. They've just got a USB-C connector there. Isn't that a good idea? And it's so obvious. Why did nobody else come up with that?
Because everyone else didn't bother to design their quad. They just took bits out of parts bin.
Yeah. So, yeah, well done to HLRC. Fortunately, it doesn't come in just these colours. What I thought they actually did, I thought, oh, they're trying to show me what colours it comes in by giving me this awful one. But this is a model called Mixed. That is an official model. You can order it like this. If you've got no taste or are colourblind and don't care.
Well, you won't have many problems with orientation, will you?
Yeah, you'll know orientation.
Well, normally orientation, I like one colour at the front and one colour at the back. I would just like, hang on, yeah, is
That's
yellow
much more
green at the
specific.
back, or is it purple pink? I don't know.
What happens if you're flying inverted curry? Now you can tell if you're flying your Cinewhoop inverted, you've still got perfect orientation. It's not a problem.
Well, who knows?
What was it called in the end?
It was called. I've forgotten it. Hang on. It's called I think it's called the Race Whoop something. Let's have a look. Race Whoop 30 is what it's called.
Yeah.
They do one called the Race
OBR
Whoop
in the
25
chat
as well.
said race group.
Yes. There's been a Race Whoop 25 as well. This is the Race Whoop 30. And I've got the 6S version. So I'm interested to see if it's really noisy and it actually does what it can do and go fast without overheating. And then I'm going to crash it into some trees and I'm actually going to pretend I did it on purpose. But I normally crash into trees anyway. That's just one of the
noticed
things.
that they went small for a while. They went down to like 2-inch props and 40mm props and all this silliness. And they've started to do Cinewhoops now with 3.5-inch props. I think maybe HGLRC as well released one called the Terror. Was it? No, though that was a Shendrones one with 3.5-inch props on 2207. Basically a 5-inch system with the Cinewhoop frame and 3.5-inch props. So I wonder how long it is before we just see a 5-inch quad with ducts and people like it's
HGLRC
safer.
have been doing some. They've been doing some different. They haven't been doing ducts. They did ones I reviewed not long ago, which had sort of surrounds of the props, so you could still crash it into things without hurting it, but they weren't the full ducts. So it was just, and you could convert it to a proper non-protected one if you wanted to, which is quite cool. I quite like.
Are they
that
still
idea.
using the same duct material, or have they kind of improved things to make them a bit more bendy and robust?
This stuff feels quite hard. I'm not sure what it is. They haven't gone with the normal sort of surrounds of like sort of more
TPU?
foamy stuff.
Mm.
It's not TPU. It's not that flexible. Is it written on it somewhere? No, it's probably available somewhere. But the idea is they don't sort of think about crashing into people, so it's not foamed, and so that's I think a little bit better. There's less duct. I think there's going to be less resistance flying this one than a normal one. But I still, as far as freestyle goes, because it's such a big area, I think it's still going to be weird to sort of roll around and put in a dive and stuff. It's probably still going to get a little bit jiggly coming down out of a dive and stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah.
If it ever stops raining, I'll go out and fly it along with the other 3 models I've built over the last week, because I've just been happily soldering away here, trying to get my stuff done while I've not been out doing anything.
What receiver is it?
It's an XM Plus. It just came with that one. Else I would I would have asked for something like an ERS or a Crossfire or something. But that'll do. That'll do the job. Hopefully, it's on the version 1. Something firmware, else I'm going to have to reflash it or something annoying.
Oh, we're still fighting that battle with FR Sky then, like version 1, version 2, version 2.1.
Pretty much.
And then we can't get receivers and etc. etc. and Radio Master getting told off. And
I bought a bunch of jumper FR Sky receivers and they were quite good, and then I just got annoyed with FR Sky full stop and just ditched the protocol.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Richard Warwick. Richard Warwick is reminding me about the thing I couldn't remember, which is the Sector 132 and Sector 150, which was the previous quad I was trying to talk about, which could have the ducks, but not ducks. They were just big sort of surrounds that could bounce off stuff and not, if you wanted to.
The other thing, while we were talking about radios, there was a load of stuff I saw you put in, Stephen, about HTX.
Oh, right, yeah. Give me just a minute, because there is a graphic involved here. Graphic, which I should probably show. So there was a call to people to get involved, and there was a roadmap here. Give me a second here. I'm professional. They wanted to get volunteers involved as well, saying you don't just need to be a coder, but they also want testers, logo designers, web designers. Maybe if I can... Put this thing out here, full screen this, hit this,
Sounds like
hit the
there might be a
magic button.
PowerPoint coming over.
Oh my word, you won't believe it. It's not,
Next
it's not
slide,
easy.
please.
Yeah, heads up next time, guys. I'm not.
There's only one man. With
Yeah.
14 and a half minutes of the show left.
Sorry.
Right.
So,
Right.
monkeys.
So let's just zoom this up. So they've actually produced a handy dandy graphic. Apologies for our audio listeners, but right now we're on this Dauntless release, and they're up to RC2 of Dauntless. So they've effectively released HTX 2.4. That's history now. And the next release, 2.5, comes with the addition of customizable color schemes and themes, a Lua Touch API. They're moving the core of it from their own kind of custom code base onto a free RTOS, which is apparently just going to mean it's much more extendable and easier to maintain. They're rewriting the ADC stuff. Foreign language builds are being improved as well. They're adding the FlySky Nirvana MV14 at last, but only the external module. There's going to be a touch keyboard for entering data as well. So that's, by the sound of it, going to come out quite soon, because we're up to RC2, and I think they're doing about a release candidate a week so far, so they're making good progress. After that, they've got details of what they want to put into 2.6, and the big thing there is the rewrite of the configuration scheme, where they want to move away from this kind of companion-only thing to using companion to actually write a config file. So I think I mentioned this before, but the behind-the-scenes detail right now is your radio program memory is serialized and just dumped, like the entire memory, and that is your config file, which is not human readable, and it's not something you can easily look at. You need companion. So if we go to YAML files, it's just going to be human readable config, lovely jubbly, very easy. They're bringing in Mavlink support there as well. TBS Tango 2 and the TBS Mambo will arrive. They're going to improve the FlySky Nirvana MV14. There's a few other bits and bobs I don't really know too much about. After that, it gets very fuzzy. But they're making some good progress, which is good. So I think a lot of people were worried this might be a flash in the pan and go nowhere. The project seems to have some legs. So good on them is all I can say, and well done.
I love how Christmas edition.
Yeah. They've got autumn equinox, winter solstice, spring equinox, and summer solstice. A very pagan sort of affectation, which is interesting to see, instead of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, which is always a little bit boring and business-like.
It's pagan on one way, and then they've put the word Christmas in on the other, which is a bit... And then they've got Dauntless, which comes from...
Christmas and winter solstice.
That
Sorry.
film? That series of films, which I can't remember.
So to try and kind of decrypt some of these phrases into something I might understand. Does Lua Touch API? Does that just mean touchscreen support? Is that what that means?
Yeah, touchscreen support for your Lua scripts, because a lot of these radios now, a lot of people weren't really fans of the jog dials, buttons, and every radio did it differently, which was not fun. Moving between even variants of the kind of TX16 to T16 to TX18, whatever, they all had wheels and buttons in different places. The touch interface is, I think, a lot more intuitive for people who are new to the hobby. And that's going to now work for Lua as well as the main system menus, because obviously the Lua scripts are completely outside of Edge TX, and they were just relying on the keys, even though the system was able to be configured using touch.
I have to say, Bruce was not a fan of the idea of the touchscreen. He complained that when somebody had it, he had to go off under a tree and try and look at the colour screen in order to try and figure out what was going on. And give him a mono screen any day, and that was much better. How is the TX16 in the light? Is it usable under sunlight?
I don't have one. I can see it being easier for text entry.
Hertz, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm using the T-Lite, so I've got the little postage stamp screen.
I've got the TX16, but it hasn't been sunny enough since I've had it.
We don't have this problem in England.
Yeah.
In fact, we use it to light our way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's not been the problem. But I mean, what was the other thing on here? I thought I might actually understand what's going on. Mavlink support.
Yeah.
I've heard of Mavlink while going through all the RGPilot stuff as like a protocol for telemetry, right?
So you can send Mavlink packets back to the radio, presumably, and list all.
You can use it for command and control as well, can't you? I think it forms
true,
like a full two-way telemetry link.
Yeah. So you can completely fly a model with Mavlink if you want to, and get telemetry back at the same time.
So you can do your course plotting on the ground while the model's in the air, and you can upload a mission via Mavlink to a model that's already flying.
So all the pressing the buttons on Mission Planner in RGPilot, going like, go to this waypoint or go to waypoint mode. That'll be a thing that you can do on your radio, on your touchscreen. You can just be like drawing GPS courses and getting it to fly around them, right?
I have wondered how long it's going to be before someone does a decent job of uploading maps onto a radio. I think you can kind of hack it and upload some image files and sort of make it work, but it would be really neat to have full maps. Although at that point, I think you might as well just have like Bluetooth to a tablet or something, right? And just use something that's got a proper screen rather than a tiny screen.
I mean, that's always been my kind of ideal situation. Just let my radio be a radio with like a couple of gimbals and a few switches, and do all the configuration on my phone. That would be much better. Like my phone is always going to be a better screen with better connectivity and battery and all of that than I want to pay for on a radio. Just connect the two.
I do agree. We should be able to get a Bluetooth link from the radio to the phone, and it's going to be much easier to do your typing and things. Although I think touch keyboard could be helpful on the radio.
Yeah, I can see that being good.
Well, it's going to be experimental, so who knows what they're going to come up with for 2.7 and 2.8. At least they're going to cover all the recently released radios, which are still sort of waiting for. I mean, how long did that Nirvana wait for OpenTX support? It was a long old time, wasn't it?
It's quite interesting because one of the things that's running right now on the Mambo is Freedom TX, because the stuff they want hasn't got into OpenTX yet, and it's going to be interesting to see if Edge beats it to get there, because of course this is limited to 250 Hertz, as I found out. Although it came up saying I'm running 500 Hertz when I had a chat with the Discord, they're like, no, it does 250, so I set it down. But
yeah, so does my deviation radio. It says it runs 500 Hertz, but it's only actually getting the stick commands at 250 Hertz.
Yeah. It was confusing. It's like it says it in the OSD. Look, it's saying LQ7100. It's like, no, that's not it. Right, set it to 250.
Yeah, it's interesting that the people have a lot of patience for Freedom TX, and they're quite happy to sort of, Freedom TX, wonderful. It's got a catchy name. But when Jumper or someone releases their one-off builds for their radios, like, why haven't we got OpenTX support? This is outrageous. Funny bunch.
I mean, the other thing I would like to see on kind of radio technology, and complaining about all the PWM stuff, but if there was like servos that weren't PWM, if we had like the equivalent of like 32-bit servos, and like bi-directional servos, that'd be great. Love that. Then I'd get well
actually
on board.
have kind of an ESC built into the servo, so you've got digital communication with it. You mean?
I mean, because you get digital servos, but there's still you're feeding in PWM, and then it's decoding that, and then it's doing stuff with its internal loops, separately. But if it forgot that, and I mean, you can get S-bus servos, but if we had something a bit more sensible that could like
a bit more precise
feedback and be like, this servo is fully talked out, like it's saturated. I'm sure that could be useful. You could be like,
useful.
Yeah, and then you get like force feedback at some point, maybe.
And the servo could tell you how long it was taking to reach a position, and you could account for that in your flight controller. If there was some servo lag, you could actually account for it in the flight controller.
Yeah, if there was it could feed back all sorts of telemetry. It could feed back the angle that it is actually at, as well as the set point. It could feed back the current that it was using, i.e. the torque that it was having to do to get that, and whether it's completely whether it's like the voltage is dropping that it's receiving. There's loads of interesting stuff that you could get out of that if you had another tiny little chip on there that was communicating back as well.
That sounds like expensive servos, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, I bet if you looked at expensive robotics shops, you could find servos that do that. If you're willing to pay 120, 130 quid for a servo. So I started to look at the world of servos, being a quad guy who's never looked for servos before. And I bought 2 servos before I bought one that's the right size. That's how much of a noob I am. And I noticed you can spend 3 quid for a servo, and you can also spend £130 for a servo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Essentially look the same.
No, me and Frank went to a, you remember the drone exhibits, like at the Excel Center, and you'd had, what were they called? Like the UAV something. It was, and like the military.
The
was
UAV
there
Expo,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, UAV Expo. We went there, and holy Christ, if you thought you knew what a servo was, you didn't. I've got like a free pencil from the company, and they gave me the pencil in the hope that I would go away, because they had like £300 servos, like all outside aluminium, like stepper motory kind of, position sort of feedback and precision, and like its life expectancy and weight was unbelievable. I mean, they were selling one that could lift half of Frank. If you cut Frank in half, it would lift him.
This is when you need a servo to like jack up your car to change the wheel or something.
These are servos to like release bombs off aircraft or something. That's...
These are probably the ones. Did you ever watch that program about where they deliberately crashed like a jet to see what would happen? They put like dummies in the front, and they had what just looked like a massive metal box which would basically steer the plane, and they had some guy following it on a helicopter with, I think, some horrible Spectrum transmitter or something, flying the 747 or whatever it was that way. But, at least he had to crash it, and he did that bit okay. Any of us could have crashed that plane.
I don't see why a servo that has some amount of like cleverness in it like that would have to be that much more expensive than like a 32-bit ESC.
It's just the supply and demand, really, isn't it? Like, they haven't got that many people.
Have you seen how many people fly fixed wing?
Yeah,
heli,
but
for that matter.
How many people are prepared to pay for that feature set? You've got to have people that are prepared to buy it, right? It's like, why is DJI expensive? Why doesn't everyone run DJI? Well, it's expensive because few people want to buy it. If they somehow managed to crack it and make it so, say DJI had no proprietary tech in there, it was just like a camera and everyone figured out how it worked, but it still cost a lot.
If we were looking at Connex, for example.
Yeah, like you need people to buy into it and push the price down. And if people can fly their planes on £5 servos, £5 servos, why would they pay more?
£5? That's rich for a servo, isn't it? Half the planes behind me are on
Exactly.
199 servos, and they seem to have done fine.
Right. So yeah, so people are perfectly happy with their Tesco value servos rather than anything that's a bit punchier. If you could convince people to go for it, they would, I'm sure. I mean, no one's buying the old original BL Heli or Simon K ESCs anymore, are they? They've moved on from that.
I'm sure some people are.
I guess all the fixed wing guys are still like, using their plush ESCs, 30 amp plush ESCs.
There's one on the Bixler there.
Yeah.
Part of the problem. Part of the problem.
It's not broken. Don't fix it.
Thinking of the fixed wing people, the socks and sandals lot. There's a Survey Monkey survey that they've been sharing around, asking for feedback on the bylaws on Dartmoor, because they're looking to ban any form of model aircraft and drones, or one of the proposed bylaws would ban any model aircraft or drones on Dartmoor. And there's like model gliding clubs on Dartmoor that are not very happy around that, so they're sharing it. But I've put it in the LDO Discord if anyone is interested in feeding back on that.
Oh, that's good to know. I did wonder if that link was only for residents of Dartmoor when I saw it. I was confused as to what the implication was.
They do ask, are you a visitor? Like, are you a local? Are you a business? But are you a member of any relevant organisations? So if you're BMFA or FPV UK, you might as well put that on there that you're a member, even if you're not necessarily representative. You can be a member of one of those organisations.
What would be a persuasive argument to soothe their ears? What should people be telling them?
The only reason I would come to the Dartmoor area is to fly my drone/plane/model glider and frequent local businesses while doing so.
I don't think they're really about local businesses, are they? I mean, my argument would be like they're having to update the rules. Well, the CAA and the general rules are now published and out there, and they're going to be updated and more closely scrutinized and kept up to date, better than like Dartmoor local bylaws. And they're going to be better publicized and better understood by model people or drone people. So just leave it up to them. Just go for those. Don't have anything specific. Just be like, there's other laws covering that. We don't need to. That would be my argument.
Excellent. Yeah, I don't think we need more laws when the country already has laws in place to stop reckless and dangerous behaviour.
Exactly.
Yeah, just making laws for the fun of it now, aren't they?
Well, they're making laws to assuage shouty people in the media. That's largely it.
As always.
The vocal minority.
Yeah, we might need drones to deliver petrol soon. That's not going to age well. Right, anyway, on that note, you've been listening to Let's Drone Out.
Talking of not aging well.
Yeah.
Boom.
The numbers are doing poorly. And we are massively thankful for all our Patreons who support this shit show and keep it going as it slowly dies and gets dementia.
Speak for yourself.
You've been joined by Stephen.
Hello.
Everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Goodbye. Our
Lord and Master Frank.
Bye.
And I've been Jack, Fly Until I Fly. Don't forget,
there's also as Clive has just posted in there, the link ifpv.co.uk/events/184 is the link for the sign up for the first UK X-Class race, and they're also doing some open spec wing racing, which I haven't actually got my head around what that means.
Where will it be?
It will be at Popham Airfield. It was going to be at Northolt, and then they needed more space, and Popham has more space. So they're going to be at Popham on the 16th of October.
How cold do you reckon that's going to be?
I'm gonna pack gloves.
Okay. All right. Don't forget, guys. We're going to be over on Patreon, and we're going to do a bonus catch-up talky show, and invite some of our friends.
Is that free to come along and watch? Sorry, I'm interrupting Jack on the outro, but just for people that might want to watch, I can see there's an entry fee.
There's a if you're a $3. Is it $3?
If your name's not down, you're not coming in.
Why are we using American money? Why is it $3?
I don't know. That's how it was set up.
I think we're all talking about different things at the moment. I think we've got 4 different conversations going on.
Awesome.
Oh, what you like?
I was talking about the Inside FPV thing at Popham. Is it like a free thing for people that want to go along and watch?
And why are they charging people $3?
Yeah.
No, the $3 is nothing.
I'm confused by that.
God damn it, we have got dementia. Right, you've been listening to Let's Drone Out. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.